Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Max with BuzzTox, and I'm back with another Westworld video. In this video, I really want to talk about Caleb and what his story will look like this season. And I think what we're going to see from Caleb is that he's very different. In Season 1, we got to watch Delores reach the center of her maze. It followed her jumping through timelines to find her own inner center. In Season 2, we saw the same thing with Bernard. And now this season, the sense of mystery relies on Caleb's backstory. And I think the core purpose is to really show and communicate that humans and hosts are not that different. And Caleb is struggling to find his own reality, just like the hosts. And I think that's because Caleb's core character is that he is an outlier. Something that's defined by Serac as a high-risk individual who thinks critically and runs the risk of destroying humanity. And based on the information gathered, Serac keeps these outliers in line by providing recovery facilities or sending these outliers to high-risk environments where they can change or potentially die. All with the vision of keeping humanity safe, because the destruction of humanity is dependent on one outlier. And I think the one sad thing about this is Serac is completely eliminating all outliers, even though an outlier could be good or evil. It would be an outlier that commits genocide on a group of people, but it's also an outlier who would go against the norms to build a better world. And with Caleb, it seems like he's a very good person. He's able to think quick on his feet, and he's a person who'll lay his life on the line for somebody who he doesn't even know. And that makes him dangerous to Serac because his core drive is not survival. He's after something real, something true, and that's something that Serac cannot offer him. But I think if we look at the information, we can say that Caleb is most definitely an important character and he is an outlier. Delores actively seeked him out using the Rico app, so he would be at the exact same place to pick her up and save her to find his purpose, much like William did inside Westworld. And while Caleb is following Delores, he's starting to piece together who he is, and he's seeing arising mysteries that he doesn't know about. When Liam was killed, he couldn't believe the person who Caleb was. He was disgusted by him, like he knew a secret that Caleb didn't know. And then for some weird reason, Liam told Caleb that he shot him, even though we know it was this character. So not only do I think Delores seeked out Caleb for a certain reason he doesn't know about, I think Caleb has also been allowed to roam free in society because of Serac. And he may know something about Caleb that right now we don't as an audience. And I think in order to understand Caleb, we need to look at his past to see how that could have shaped his character. First, you have his mother. She was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And schizophrenia is a serious mental disorder in which people can interpret reality abnormally. And having it results in hallucinations, delusions, and it really impairs your daily ability to function. And I think right off the bat, we'll start to piece together that even this is a lie. Caleb's mother probably didn't leave him because she forgot or has schizophrenia. She's diagnosed with schizophrenia because she sees the truth. The reality that Caleb's mom saw is one that was true, but it was one that Serac did not want her to see. He wants to control the human population. So Caleb's mom was an outlier, and you wouldn't want an outlier to raise a child because the child would then start to think more critically like an outlier. So I think it's possible that Caleb's mom could have left for schizophrenia, but I also believe it's possible that she was taken outside, drugged, and hospitalized to disconnect her from her son because Rehoboam saw that as a danger. Maybe Caleb being raised by his mother would have resulted in him being an extremist, or someone that Rehoboam deemed really dangerous. But because of that, Caleb was conformed not being around a mother. He never really knew love, and he felt like he was forgotten by society, so he enrolled in the military. We know that that's a part of Serac's plan to keep outliers at bay. We see Serac's control over the military. We see Caleb taking limbics, these medications that change your emotions and put you in different states, as well as they probably have grips installed in their mouths. We heard somebody say in a previous episode that Caleb has a military grade grip, so it's specialized. I think Serac, as a French immigrant, would have offered this to the military so they can appropriately surveillance their soldiers, and Serac would be able to take all the data and implement it in Rehoboam. But with that, we don't know if it was before or during the military, but Caleb was able to be with his best friend, Francis. And just like Caleb, Francis was an outlier. That explains why he was in the military, and it might explain why they got along so well. But one thing that we learned in episode 1 is that Francis believed that nobody really cared about them, that the world is rigged, and the people who own this world don't care whether they lived or died. And because of that, Caleb and Francis must stick together. And this view is very similar to Delores. As a host, the guests don't care whether you lived or died. You have to look out for yourself. And she's on the same path. And just like how Delores decided she needs to take it in her own hands, I think Caleb decided the exact same thing. I think it's very clear that Caleb took a stand against the government of the United States to fight for his freedom. And this is how I think it's going to unfold. There's going to be an event in the military that will prove their point. An explosion where Francis and Caleb realize that the military doesn't care about them, the government doesn't care about them, and society doesn't care about them. They're just pawns in a greater whole. And because of this, I think Francis goes against protocol and he gets punished and he goes to a recovering facility. And here we see Caleb visiting him. But I think eventually after that experience, they go back home. And it really sinks in that this world is not true, it's not authentic, and it's not real. And I think they decided to put matters in their own hands together. So I think they're either going to try to kill or assassinate someone, or they could even do something crazy like a mass shooting, even though Caleb seems like a very stand-up person. Here we see two individuals holding guns that are wearing the exact same thing as Francis and Caleb in this clip. In front of these people, we see an American flag and a California flag. So we know that they're going to do something hostile. And that's the answer that we don't know yet. I think Caleb will come to the conclusion that he already tried to stand up against this body. And then Francis will be killed and Caleb will be caught and his reality will be changed. I think the main thing that Serac is doing in these facilities is he's drugging his people with limbics to give them the emotional fortitude to take on new memories. He gives them the drug, he puts glasses on, and he presents to them new memories that they've never experienced. Memories that were created by Rehoboam. So Serac drugged Caleb and showed him memories of him being in Russia, of him extracting an asset for the US government, Francis getting killed. Also a memory of Caleb defending the United States homeland, which we see here. All with memories to make him seem like the good guy. And if he remembers being a good guy, then he's more likely to be that in the future. I think the one question that hasn't been answered though is why did they leave Caleb alive? And there is a part of me that thinks that Serac left Caleb for Delores. I think what happened was after Caleb shot up a building in California, Serac had him wiped. He gave him new memories of what happened. He gave him the tools to connect to his past, like Francis, who says things to Caleb to try and change his opinion. Instead of this Francis saying that the world is rigged, the new AI Francis says that the world is a game, and you need to play the game in order to win. That's what Rehoboam wants, everyone to fall in line and play the game and win. That's what William did. He fell in line, he was never himself, and he played the game to become a billionaire philanthropist. But Caleb didn't do that. And now because of that, he's stuck. He's being punished. He's not going to get a job. His mom is being held hostage with schizophrenia. And the only thing he can fall on is the Rico app. And I think the Rico app is another thing that's allowed to happen by Serac. He knows everything. Of course he knows that there's an illegal application underneath the government body. But it's a tool that allows him to learn even more about people. And the Rico app is what led Caleb directly to Delores. So I think we'll see things unravel, but I think the biggest character we can draw a connection to Caleb with is Bernard. Bernard was created by Ford inside of the cradle. Ford wasn't able to do fidelity testing because his memory was foggy. Delores knew Arnold much better. So Delores did fidelity testing on Arnold and realized that maybe it was better if Arnold wasn't a perfect copy. After all, he didn't make it, so Delores changed him into the person he is now. So Bernard isn't just a host. He's part host, Bernard, but he's also part Arnold, created by Delores. And Caleb is the same thing, but he was created by Serac. The human Caleb could have been a very cruel person, an outlier. But using Rehoboam, he's been changed. The reality of who Caleb is has changed. So Caleb could either backfire on Delores or Serac. And I think that's a perfect concept that they're going to dive into in the show. The first is the maze, a host finding its own center of consciousness. The second is the door, a human being able to walk through the door into a host body, complete immortality and fidelity. I think the only person who will be able to do this is William, but I'll talk about that in another video, or you can check out my video, Door to Delores. But thirdly, I think there's going to be something called something like the insight, where a personality is created and they're based off of a human. So it's not a human or a host, it's both. And what that means is Caleb would successfully be able to transfer himself into a host body. But he could either go two ways. He could join Delores and fight for the hosts, or he can learn that Delores is a host and learn that not only does she want to shut off Rehoboam, she wants to end humanity. And maybe we'll see Caleb start to fall in the middle. He believes that Serac is wrong for controlling humanity, but he thinks Delores is wrong for eliminating humanity. So he may back one of these people, or he may take his own stance. But I think he's going to be a very important character moving forward. But that is all I have to say about Caleb. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and until next time, see you guys later.